Welcome students. Let us continue our chapter Forms of Government. So in our last video we have discussed up to parliamentary and presidential form of government, and today we will start unitary and federal form of government. So unitary and federal. What is unitary? Unitary means when there is only one government and for the whole country this government rule. That means only one government rule over the country. It is called unitary form of government. This form of government makes and also execute laws. That means this kind of government, they make laws and they execute also. Execute means how the rules are implemented. So these things also they look after. The example of this government is Great Britain and China. China also unitary form of government. That means there is only one government. And in the federal form of government, the distribution of power is between the central and the state government. That means the powers are distributed to the central government and state governments. That is, there is two parts. State, some powers has been given to the states to look after their state, and central look after all over the country. So most of the laws that the central government makes, it can be applied to all the states. That means all over the country. But if a state makes some laws, it is for the state only. So there is a difference between the state's power and the central power. That means the central can apply its laws to all over the country, but the state is limited to its area. That means within the state only it can be applied. So example are India, USA, Switzerland, Nigeria, Brazil. These are federal form of government. That means there are two governments in a country. Now constitution. What is constitution? Constitution is a set of laws. That means laws are written in the constitution which a state or a country follow. That means how the state or country should be governed, the rules are written. That is the constitution only. So the rules, that means the distribution of power and authority within the country. That means how the powers are distributed to all the parts, all the states, districts. That means how they will govern their state or country. So all the rules are written in Constitution. The Constitution also states the limit. That means if any law is made, you cannot go beyond the law. You cannot do anything excess of the law. That means you have to be limited within the law. So it is not for the government, for the people also. That means we should follow the laws of the constitution. So there are different types of constitution. These are written and unwritten, rigid and flexible. These are some types of constitution. Clear? Now, written and unwritten constitution. What is written constitution? In a written constitution, the fundamental principles, that means the main principles of the government, are formally written. That means written, we know that something is written in the copy or book. So like that only, formally written, these are the rules how you will govern a state or country. This is called written constitution. The Constitution of India was prepared between 9 December 1946. So it was started 9 December 1946 and completed writing on 26 November 1949. So near about 3 years it took to make the constitution, Indian constitution. The aims of the people. So every citizen have their aims, and the vision of the leaders, that means the MLA, MPs, all the leaders. So what is their vision, how they see, are contained and protected in the constitution. So all the things are protected in the constitution. That means all the things are there in the constitution. How you should run a state, what is your limit, you cannot go beyond the rule. So these all the things are written in the constitution. The British Constitution is unwritten. So unwritten, that means what is doing verbally only, not seeing the written constitution. So they don't have any written constitution. So, and it contains no single document. So unwritten, as we understand that what is not written. So there is no document. It consists of constitutional conventions and practices. That means what is going on from the very beginning, it is going on. It is their law, but it is not written, only by practice. These things are going on. So this is called unwritten constitution. Alright. Now, rigid and flexible constitution. What is rigid constitution? The rigidity, and rigid means very strict. Flexibility means there is we can change something. This is the flexibility. The rigid and flexible constitution is reflected in the process of amendment. How we can say it is rigid and flexible? Depending on the amendment. Amendment means correction. Suppose a law people are not accepting. So if we change this, it is called flexible. If we cannot change, it is rigid. That is the simple thing, rigid and flexible. A rigid constitution cannot be changed or amended. Amended means changing or correcting. So it cannot be changed easily. To make amendments in the constitution, suppose if any changes, we have to make specific procedures. Some procedures are there These have to be followed. What are the procedures? Procedures means the central and as well as the state. The state majority is required. That means majority of the members, they should tell that yes, we need change. Then only majorities, if they tell, their words should be written by the central, and that can be amended or changed. American and Indian constitutions are example of rigid constitution. That means it is not so easy to change any law. A constitution that can be changed easily, or it can be any laws can be amended, it is called flexible. It can be amended by normal lawmaking procedures. So as it is unwritten, so some procedures are there, and verbally they can change the law in the parliament. The British Constitution is an example of flexible constitution. I think all of you have understood written and unwritten, rigid and flexible. Now last, franchise. What is franchise? The term franchise, when applied to elections, when the franchise term is applied to elections, means the right of a citizen to vote. That means this right has been given to give or cast our vote. Franchise was not limited to citizens who could satisfy certain conditions such as education, possession of wealth and income. So it is given to all the citizens, all the people of India, irrespective of education, income, wealth. So every citizen must have the right to vote. That means the franchise. A vote enables citizens to choose the people who will represent them in the state assemblies. Why we give the vote? We give vote, that means we select a candidate who will represent us. That means our thinking, our feelings, that candidate will understand and he will represent us in the state assembly. That means from the Assam state, ministers will go to the central and they will talk about our problems. That is why we give the vote, we elect a member. The vote gives citizens the right to choose the people who will govern the country. That means the country who will govern, one minister should be there, and we will elect one member from, that means MLA or MP. They will represent us. They will elect our Prime Minister who will govern the country. So like that, vote has a vital role in the election. In most democracy like India, we have democracy. Today the right to vote is universal. It is universal. That means all over the country, every country, this right to vote is universal. It is granted as a fundamental right. Those who have completed the age of 18, they have the right to give the vote, and it is their fundamental right. No one can stop. So irrespective of race, class, gender, that means male, female, anyone can give the vote. It is their fundamental main right. This is known as universal suffrage. That means everyone has the right to give the vote. The first step towards universal suffrage was taken in the early 19th century. So early 19th century, that means now it is 21st century. Then last century, it was 19th century, it was started. It focused on removing property requirements for voting purposes. So the property requirements, there should be no property requirements. Everyone should have the right to give the vote. In the late 19th, that is the last part of the 19th century, and early 20th, that means the starting of 20th century, the forces of universal suffrage was on giving voting rights to women. So in the last part of 19th and the first part of 20th century, this right to vote was given to women also. They can also give the vote. In fact, for a long time in many developed countries, women were not given the right to vote. So in many developed countries earlier, they were not given the right to vote. That is why these things implemented. Many societies in the past have denied people the right to vote on the basis of race or ethnicity. Suppose some tribal peoples are there and they have not given the right to vote. So earlier it was there. So suppose this race means jati. This jati was not given the right to vote. Earlier it was there. For example, non-white. If you go to outside our country, black people and white people are there. So non-white, that means the black people, could not vote in the apartheid era in South Africa. In South Africa, the black people was not allowed to cast their vote because they are black and some are white. So white people only give the vote, and black people, non-white, they cannot give the vote. The system came to an end with the first free multi-party election in 1994. So when the free multi-party election in 1994, multi-party means 2-3 parties. So that time it was not there. 1994 started, all can give their vote to their candidates. Most universal suffrage system still exclude some voters. For example, many countries denied the right to vote to convicted criminals or the mentally ill. So many countries it was there that the criminal people, that means those who have done any crime or mentally ill, so some abnormal people are also there, they cannot give the vote. It was there. Also, almost all countries denied the right to vote to non-citizen residents. Suppose some people are not in their own country, they are in another country, they cannot give vote, and citizens below the age of 18. So below the age of 18 or the citizen, those who are not there in their own country, they cannot cast their vote. So this all about franchise. So I think all of you have understood this chapter, forms of government. You go through the book, every line you read, you will understand all the things, and if any confusion or any doubt is there, we can discuss afterwards in our Zoom class. So let us conclude our chapter here. Thank you.